All right, we got another old video. This was filmed in 2017. Cara Fay. This is when she was. This is after the art project, 3.5 years in Independence, Oregon, and we're back in San Francisco. And this was her continuing her documentary of my project, the guided art studio, Dream Sketches, the study of dreams. And I found this video, and I'm explaining to her the sensation of meditating for 4 to 6 hours a day for a year, and what I went through. So here it is, 2017, Vipassana meditation.
Circa 2006-ish?
August 2006.
Okay.
I remember those dates.
Okay. Yeah, I wonder why.
Well, we moved there, and as we're waiting for permits. Okay. So we're waiting for building permits, and I've got nothing else to do. So I'd go up in the mountains and I would start practicing Vipassana meditation, and this changed my life. It took about 4 months of practicing, and I got to the point where I was up there 6 hours a day. And I was so hooked on what I was discovering, remembering. You know, it wasn't emotional. It was a different feeling. Okay, so
It was comfortable.
It was
a comfort zone, kind of?
I was just seeing things for the first time, type of thing.
Okay.
And Vipassana meditation is, if you look it up, it comes directly from Buddha himself. That's what he taught, and it's the quickest technique to use to reach enlightenment. And if you understand what it is, you can see why. Because the whole process is about seeing where your mind's going and stopping it. You know, you'll hear something and say, listening, and go back to focusing on rising and falling, rising and breathing. And then you think of something and say to yourself, thinking, and, you know, feeling, you know, hurting, you know, whatever, and then going back to focusing. And as I did it, you know, the first part was really interesting because at first I wasn't able to really get into it because I was afraid I was going to get attacked by a cougar or a bear or something without cell service and nobody for miles, you know. And then I would go back down, you know, to civilization. How's the permits going? And it's just taking longer and longer. And I'd be like, oh God, you know,
it's
inside.
a mind-body relationship.
Yeah,
is really all it is.
And I'd feel this frustration because I've had so many things fail in my life and moved to so many different jobs, so many different micro families in my life.
But it's fascinating how you chose an environment that wasn't really safe or secure. So it wasn't even like, you know, you didn't do this in a safe space. You didn't go to a temple or go into a church or something. You went into nature in its raw, almost you put yourself in an extreme environment to do something that it was distracting because of your fears.
I got tired of seeing any remnants of human beings.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, that's important. So
I
you made
really
sure to put yourself in
just
the
like art.
zone.
I got tired of anything
Gotcha.
telling me to get out of this park at a certain time, or
you don't want
the temple's closing,
restrictions,
or
exactly.
people are going to walk in and be conscious of
Right.
that, you know.
Right.
So I put myself up deep in this beautiful, just hypnotic mountain. Just the vibration is just this low bass. I mean, it's the only way I can explain it. You can't hear it,
No, you have to
but you feel it.
Right.
So I knew I was in the right place. And I also knew I was there for more than just building homes, you know, because I reached a breaking point. Like, I'm done, you know. And I'd go down and, you know, get upset about the permits not coming through, so I'd go back up to the mountains. And then I was no longer like, I don't care about bears and cougars. Just eat me. I'm done. That would be a great way to go, you know. So I was no longer afraid of that. So I was able to meditate longer. And then it was bugs. You know, this is like August, September, and you know, they get big bugs up there, and so I'd be sitting there and I'd, you know, hear the bees like race cars, you know, and feel these gnats and then something crawling on my leg, you know, and I'm like, you know, and then I reached a point where, well, I bought this big blanket and I wrap myself in it to kind of cover me more from bugs so I can focus more. And so I overcame the fear of animals eating me, being out in the middle of nowhere, no rescue, to the little bugs bugging me in meditation. And I remember I knew I was there when I felt something, I don't know what it was, right here in my nose. It was a feeling, rising, falling, feeling, and it was crawling. It was real sensitive. I'm like, feeling, rising, falling, feeling. And something clicked. Like, I could feel it, but it wasn't.
Didn't matter.
It wasn't me.
Wow.
It was just something on something. it was like the nerves were there, but
Something on something.
it was something on something. This was
wasn't
just
you.
something, and something was on something, and I'm the one noticing and saying, feeling, and then deciding to go to rising and falling and rising and falling, and it clicked at the bug point. So that at that time I was probably 2-3 hour meditation now, and I was starting to see that I'm not this. And then the hardest one to overcome, and again this took about 4 months to reach this point, was time. Like phone still worked up, time still works up out of cell range. So I'd be sitting there for 3 hours, and nothing's bothering me anymore, nothing. I'm just in this rising, falling. And when you get good at it, they call it chasing the breath. That's the American terminology of Vipassana, pretty much. You just feel the breath going in and out, and it becomes this like rhythm, just this, it's almost like a humming going with the deeper tone of this environment. It's just
You're harmonizing with the nature's environment and the resonating.
It's
with
the only way to
nature.
explain it, and I can feel it's just.
You're in harmony. I know. You're in
looking
harmony
down in
with
this
it.
valley of carpeted trees for millions of acres, 3,000 feet
powerful.
below, with these mountains right here,
Yeah.
and nobody's around. Clouds are floating below you
Right.
and at you, And I was so into this just this low. I can't even mimic it. This sub.
Yeah. It's
Like
an
the earthquake I
energetic
heard here,
resonance.
just a low,
Yeah.
energy, and then my breathing, rising and falling. I'm no longer saying rising and falling. You're just hearing this like,
Being it. You're in it. It's part of you.
It's not even saying anymore. It's
Part
like
of
you
the
just
frequency, the harmony.
and then this, and I'm just in this, going into this dark place. It's getting really dark, and I'm like, like I'm falling feeling, and it scared me. And then time was like, how much longer are you going to sit here? It's going to get dark. I got things to do, which I didn't. That was the last thing my mind was like, the only thing it could do. And it wasn't until I made a trip back to Salem to see Sabine. I ended up there, I think it was Thanksgiving. We went there just for a couple of days, and there was an American monk there named Jean Thomas, and he spoke great English. And I asked him, what is this dark place you start going to in Vipassana meditation? And he said, yeah, it was around Thanksgiving, because it was about August, September, October, November. Yeah, that was okay. I got my times right.
Yeah, there you go.
And which I don't normally, but this was so profound in my life. It's such a changing period. He says Vipassana meditation is like you're walking into a river on a beautiful sunny day. You can hear the rapids, and you can see the leaves and the trees, and then you submerge yourself into the water, and it just gets quieter. But you can still see light, and you can hear the rapids and the sticks floating by. But as you sink further down, the current gets weaker, things start getting darker, until you submerge yourself to the very deepest part of the river, and it's perfectly still and black. And if you stay there, it's like when you walk into a dark room, you can't see anything until you adjust, and all of a sudden you'll see the chair and the desk, and pretty soon you can see everything in that room. And so I went back knowing that, perfect timing, everything's perfect timing. And you need guides in life, you need assistance, because I wouldn't have crossed that falling into the dark. That was like death.
Yeah,
it's a form of death.
It is.
And so I got up there, and I reached that point, and I let it go. I mean, because I was so frustrated also with the permits and my life and where I've ended up again and again and all this bad luck, you know. And I was like, just die. And this is the only way to explain it. I mean, it was just the end of my story. You know, it was just wow. I mean, I'm tearing up. I mean, really, it was you know, and it's something that when you reach that point, you know, now I'm 6 hours. You know, I'd come out of it, and it wasn't that space of inner peace and stilling the mind, or you know, you can never completely. Your mind will never just be still.
Yeah,
it's just
part of you. Right. You're being aware
are not your mind.
You're aware of what
you're
it
just
is.
you're
It's a
aware
tool.
that you're the one that's the quiet one inside, observing everything coming and going, dreams
Using
and
the
thoughts and bugs and bears and you know, lions and tigers and bears and oh my, you know, and just all this stuff called life. And it was when I would come out of this meditation, you know, for 6 hours sitting on this ledge. You were there. And I'd open my eyes and I saw everything for the first time. Like nothing had a name. Like this tree, you know, who thought of calling it a tree thousands of years ago? Tree, so we can communicate. But I saw millions of acres of carpeted stuff. It had no attachment, it had no past, it had no future, it had no concern. It was just there. And I was witnessing it with...
You were witnessing existence.
Yeah.
Of life itself.
And it would only last, and I didn't know what that was until about 2 years later. That is enlightenment. And I would have never been able to say that because it's such a hierarchy,
Right.
you know,
Like,
thing.
who do you think you are to get to there?
Yeah.
You're supposed to, you know, be the Dalai Lama before you can get to that.
But out of all humbleness and reality, because that's what I'm really interested in is truth, and I'm not trying to get anywhere with this at all. You know, I want to go back there. Why wouldn't you?
Right.
Just that's where I want to go. But I want to do that anywhere.
That's the point. That's true enlightenment.
And you know, it's like Bill Murray's movie Razor's Edge. I love it. And he comes out of the mountains, and the Buddhist monk says, "Why are you going back in civilization?" And he says, "It's really easy to be a master on top of a mountain by yourself. I've got to know how to do it anywhere."
That's right.
But it was only when I'd open my eyes, it would only last a few seconds. Maybe, I think the longest was maybe 10 seconds, which is just,
That's like nothing. Right?
that's like an entire life.
Yeah, I wouldn't, but it is everything.
And you are, there's no fear, there's no none of your 6 emotions, you know, it's a whole different non-existent emotion in the 3D. I'm a human being. I am this person, me. This is my, it's like home.
Yeah. Presence of your essence, of your true essence.
And no drugs
Presence of
required.
essence. Yeah.
And I maintained that for 8 months through this very hard time of not getting permits and everything. Smoking just went away. You know, this stuff just went away. I lost interest. I mean, you know, I had to put a little effort in it, but it was not much. In a very stressful, you know, what normally would have been a very stressful time, waiting for building permits and all this money, and that changed my life. I saw something that is the unseen. It's the unseeing.
And where's the logic in that one?
It's just,
How do you define that?
it's the abstract potentiality of everything that surrounds everything that matters. You know, everything's made up of matter, but the space that surrounds it's much bigger. It's 99.9999%
Is that vacuum,
larger.
that ether
You know,
energy that is just the vacuum of
And,
space?
you know,
You
they can
became
call it
part of it.
a dark energy or whatever. No.
Right.
That
It's
it's realizing you're not the dark energy, or you're not the matter. You're the light.
Yeah, there you go.
And
There you go.
wow, you know, to have to come from that and go back into civilization, because everything, you know, the real estate market crashed, and then I have to go, you know, plug back into civilization was very easy.
The mastery is maintaining that space.
Well, and I maintained
And
it
you
for about
put your-
4 months when I came
Yeah.
back in civilization, you know,
Yeah.
and I was just entertained by everything and everyone.
Right.
not involved.
Right. That
You know.
we're aware of that truth.
And then I only maintained it for about 6 months, so I got a little kiss from it compared to infinity,
Right.
which is just enough of the reward I needed through years of turmoil. I just needed that kiss,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and that's the only way to
reassurance of nature.
just like
saying,
you're doing
you're
good,
okay,
and
You know,
I'm here.
There's
And
something
you're gonna forget,
Yeah.
but you'll come back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I had to plug back into getting jobs, and the economy was crashing, so people I knew were committing suicide, and family members were stressed about losing their house, and and I was just like, oh, okay, and they actually. That's all I had of the video, but I was telling Cara about it didn't faze me. I was in this state of just absolute peace. So after listening to them telling me these stories of how tragic it is, I just seemed to not care. I was more concerned about, why are you concerned about this? Aren't you here for the adventure? And it pissed a lot of people off that I knew. They're like, what, do you think you're God now or something? And I actually got sabotaged by people. And so people don't like it when you're really in peace. And that's the hardest thing to get over. And since my meditation time, that has been the challenge for me. Not only my mind, but how other people react to it. But I'm done with being a bodhisattva, which is a person that has tasted the wisdom, enlightenment, whatever. I hate that word. It's so big. Just constant peace. Weeks and weeks and weeks and months of just absolute peace, to getting slinged back out in civilization and mixing it up with people to where they knock your understanding down. And now the journey continues as well, the secret is to find that peace no matter what's going on. It doesn't matter what it is. When you no longer suffer, there's no condition in this 3D dimensional plane we live in that affects you, because you see the seer inside. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed it.